If you're on fantasy football Twitter, you've probably seen a billion with a B, Scott Fishbowl posts lately, draft grids, you name it, posts, hashtags, all that. Well, Jorge Martin and I were at live Scott Fishbowl in LA this past weekend. We're going to talk about that down at Trophy Smack. Awesome venue. We'll talk about that and more here on the Fantasy Football Podcast. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, brought to you by Circa, by Reality Sports Online, and Fantrax. I'm Jeff Erickson, and my guest today is the great Jorge Martin, who is now with RotoWire. He also does his main gig is Familia FFB. I like that shirt. I saw you rise up. I like that there. For those of you watching with us. And, you know, he's doing great videos over on YouTube. Just search Familia FFB. You'll find it, or Jorge Martin. You can follow him on Twitter at Jorge Martin 17. And you also see his work at Fancy Pros and Fancy Points. You're everywhere. You're like in Ted Lasso there. You're here, you're there, you're everywhere.
Just like the Beatles song too. Yes, absolutely. Oh, Jeff, thank you so much for having me. And it's so great to hang out with you last week at the RotoWire retreat, and also to do the Scott Fishbowl draft. I mean, you were one of the first people I saw there, and we got to have tacos with Scott Fish. What else do you want out of life?
Life is good. Very good. And you know, hey, I didn't get to do the live fishbowl last year. I was in an online league, which was fine. It's great. It's what I've been doing for a number of years, but oh my goodness, doing a live draft down at Trophy Smack down in the city of Orange. So much fun. Big kudos to the Trophy Smack people too, by the way. So much fun there. What a great setup they've got.
Oh, it's you're Peter Pan at that place. How can you not be? I don't know how they get anything done. You got the bowling alley, you got a pinball, you got pool tables, darts, everything. I'm like, how did they get anything done? But
a glass ping pong table, video games, you name it. It's ridiculous.
And OG video games like Asteroids and stuff like that. It was just made me feel like a little kid again.
Exactly. So wonderful experience. My league, the In and Out League, was super fun. We're the first to be done. Haha. In and out. But we just had a great time. We just had a wonderful time and so many nice people. And every time I do a football event, whether it's Fishbowl, whether it's I haven't gone to the Expo yet. I hear amazing things about the Expo. Just FSGA leagues, FSWA leagues, anywhere I do a football event, I just realized the breadth of this industry, this community. I think community is a better word for it there. It's so broad. I started RotoWire back in 1997, and we're a small little company. Peter Schenke and myself and Herb Elk, we're the three founders. We go to these conferences, there'd be like 20 companies max. Now there's as more as you can imagine.
Oh, it's incredible to see how many people, how much it's exploded. I mean, every time I think about that, I think back to like when the first time I played in any kind of fantasy league was 1990, and it was just my friends. And, we did a baseball league where we did get online stats because baseball is so hard and with daily stats. But when you get to football, everything was out of the newspaper. And I mean, I loved it. But yeah, the internet coming along and just making it explode is just was just it was a godsend. And it created this industry, and it's it almost feels like it's limitless. I think Peter told me last week, he said he thought it'd top out about 25 million people playing, and it's almost 3 times that now. And I don't think there's any stop.
Well, there's so many different ways to play. That's one of the things I love. Whether you like DFS, whether you like gaming, there's Dynasty, there's Devi. There's, you name it, it's there, and I love it. And I think that there's so many creative minds in the business and the community that are doing this here. So it's awesome. Tell me about your initial league. Do you still have a home league that you've been doing forever?
We actually, there's remnants of that league. The league that I started, it came out of college, friends from college, and we just it started out in this baseball league that started in 1986. That league is still intact. It's a national league only, rotisserie style. We've made the stats completely crazy. And it's
Yeah.
just, ask me anything about the National League. It's I'm pretty good. And then we just on a whim, like during that summer, we said, hey, you know what? Let's do a football league. And that league was a 10-team league, single quarterback, touchdowns only, and kicker points. But probably from that league, I think about 4 or 5 guys are in a different league that we have now that's still primarily made up of people in that baseball league. And gosh, probably, I mean, it's we're now playing, it's SuperFlex League 10, so just like, which is perfect for what we're talking about today. And I mean, we've just everything, it's PPR, and just it's space age considering what we were doing back in the early 90s.
Exactly. All I have to do is look at the fishbowl, and you can see that's a unique way of playing. Super flex, different scoring than many of my leagues. Quarter point per carry, point for first down, rushing or receiving. You gotta like that. We don't have defenses. Yay. Do have,
Yes.
but not mandatory. Although if you're in a sleeper draft, you have to take a kicker. Little as opposed to an MFL league. That is one thing. I think it's just the quirk of the platform that we have to do that. But have there been kickers taken in your draft yet?
Not yet. We're like in round 13 or 14, and we still haven't seen it. Nobody's broken the seal. We've had like crazy. I'm at the 101, and it
Okay.
seems like the quarterback 3 and the tight end 2 runs all happened leading up to my pick. And it was just like I'm watching it. I just want to cry watching all these quarterbacks, and I couldn't believe it. Where I got sniped for. I felt sniped for Mac Jones. That's how much. That's how
And I had a
tilting.
similar feeling. I'm right there with you, Jorge. I mean, you got your second quarterback in the 4th round. I went quarterback to start, so I knew I was going to get the absolute bottom of the barrel. Turns out we're sharing a bottom of the barrel quarterback. You have Baker Mayfield. I have Baker Mayfield there. In part because, your video with Greg Allman of Fox Sports, which you can check out on YouTube. Check out Familia FFB, and you can see all the insider videos that Jorge has been doing. Fantastic work there. But he said it's basically Baker's job. Trask has so little experience, and Baker has some. They're gonna let him fail at least, and he might not fail.
I think so. It comes back to what an old baseball scout told me, that sometimes players, when they have their back against the wall, they can see kind of like the mortality of their career.
Mm-hmm.
They respond. And that's where we are with Baker Mayfield. I mean, this is 4 teams now in less than 2 years. So, he's got to respond with this one. And, he's got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans to throw to there. With Mike Evans, all you have to do is sometimes throw it up there, and he's going to grab it for you and make you look a lot better. So taking that shot. I'm hoping I only have to start him a couple times though.
Exactly. Well, I hope to have to start them 1 week and 1 week only. That's week 7, because I have Burrow and Dak on the same bye week in week 7. Right. So, let me ask you, Superflex League, you get your second quarterback. Do you make sure it's a different bye week, or do you just rip the Band-Aid off, get that third quarterback, and just deal with that 1 week?
I think I've just trained myself to try and be different on the bye week so that I'm not sacrificing 1 week. But I mean, you also just never know. I mean, that 1 week you could have Joe Mixon go off for 5 touchdowns like happened last year, or Mike Evans get 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that might still be able to carry you even with playing a non-quarterback in the Superflex spot. So and then if you get that gift win, geez. Think about that. Then all of a sudden, the remainder of the season, you just got your 2 studs going the rest of the season. So I could see the logic in just being able to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off week 7. I'm just going to sacrifice it, concentrate on my other teams, which I think we both have a few other teams.
Yes, we will have many teams. Last year, quarterbacks were a problem for me. Stafford was one of my quarterbacks. We all know how that ended. So I guess that's part of my mind, but I don't do often I'll wait on the second quarterback in a super flex league. However, this year I think there was like a little bit of a drop off after Dak too. I'm just looking at my draft board right now. After I went ahead and took Prescott, there was a little bit of a lull in QB picks. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the way it worked out. But anyways, it's one of the tough questions you have to address when you're like doing your draft prep on this.
Yeah, it's because you drafted, I think, what was it, in the five hole you told me?
Close 6. I was right in the
6.
smack dab in the middle.
So, I mean, that was perfect spot. By the way, nice job wearing a Joe Burrow shirt and being able to have him last
Calling my
2 years.
shot. That's right.
That would have been funny if you would have passed on him for like Herbert or Justin Fields.
Oh man. So it's funny you say that. On Friday night, the night before, RotoWire, we have a stake league. RotoWire, it's the RotoWire stake league, and we have a side bet where it's a total points based side bet. When we all go to a steak dinner afterward, top 4 eat for free, 5th pays for himself, 6th and 7th pay for themselves, and 1 other, and 8th is the dreaded double buyer that pays for himself and 2 others. Well, we did that dinner at Taylor's in West LA on Friday night. And we at that we did a team draft for the Super Bowl. We do these drafts at the dinner every year. And Tim Schuler, I'm calling Tim out right now because this is embarrassing. He passed on taking the Bills. He had the chance to take the Bills, and instead he went. I think he didn't go. He went. He passed on. He had his team. He could have taken any team out there. The Niners and Chiefs were off the board. He could have taken the Bills. He instead went with the Eagles. So we have to give him a whole bunch of crap for that. I mean, Eagles might be a better pick, but he's a huge Bills fan. How can you do that in this silly little draft?
You can't do that. Cannot do that, Tim. Come on, man.
All right. So the whole fantasy football universe cares about our bet. So we'll move on. But let's talk. You had the number 1 pick. You knew it all along. Did you, and what did you do? And what was your, knowing that you're going to get the first pick, how did you kind of plot out the next few rounds?
Well, I had the number 1 pick last year. And so just I had kind of like my roadmap based on last year. And I did a few mocks. And actually, it turns out that a couple of people that were ended up in my Scott Fishbowl Pinks division league that we ended up being in a couple mocks. So I kind of saw where people were kind of thinking. And I wanted to concentrate on a quarterback. I know Travis Kelce is kind of like a, I mean, he's an outlier. He's a future Hall of Famer, maybe the best tight end of all time. I just didn't like what my team would look like if I picked Travis Kelce and then I had the 212 to go scrounge for a quarterback. I mean, Tua went at 211, ended up going at 211 in our pick. So I wouldn't want to get the next guy after sure. Tua.
And so, to clarify for people too, there's boosted scoring for tight ends. I think that's one thing I neglected to mention. And that's why, like, Kelce went 1.1 in my draft. So it can happen.
And you know what? And I came down to the fun factor. I started playing around with, I did a draft with Josh Allen. Then I did one with Jalen Hurts. And I liked the teams, but then I saw that Josh Allen would be on a bye during the Scott Fishbowl playoffs. So I just thought, the Bills have their later bye this year. So I said, okay, that took out Allen. So that put me down to Hurts or Mahomes. And really, my coin flip, and I liked both of their week 17 matchups. If I do make it that far, with Hurts going at home against the Arizona Cardinals and Mahomes at home in a shootout with Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Yes.
So I liked both of those games. And you know what? My coin flip was Mahomes is my favorite player. And so I just said, you know what, let me follow my favorite player in the Scott Fishbowl and just have him at the top of my lineup. And it's just going to feel so much more fun that way. So I know it wasn't a lot of scientific thought behind it, but yeah. And plus he's a dude, and I knew that he would be an anchor at that point. And last year I was able to get Austin Eckler at the end of round 2. So I said, okay, I'm going to try and get my anchor running back at that point. And, Jonathan Taylor was there, and I'm thinking 24 years old. They're not gonna be able to stack the box against him because Anthony Richardson, they're gonna have to have a guy there. So I just thought JT, and he's going for a contract this year. He's healthy. I think JT is going to be my guy, and then I was going to try and just go from there. And I like you, I wanted to have my second quarterback early though.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more Taylor for a second here, because I took him in the Vegas league at 9 overall when that was a different format, obviously. You mentioned the contract year. After what happened with Barkley and Jacobs, is this a factor anymore? What are we doing about this? I know the running backs uniformly were up in arms when you saw the results of this here on Twitter. We know how the league is devaluing running backs. I'm almost worried now. Like Jacobs had an all-time contract year, and he still didn't get justly rewarded for it.
It's almost like and it's crazy because Josh Jacobs is what, 25?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you look at that, and I hate to say it, but until they get a new collective bargaining agreement, which is not for several years, and it's going to outlast any of these guys' careers, they're going to have to, sad to say, they're going to have to sing for their supper almost on yearly contracts going forward. And they may not be able to stay with one team. That, look at Zeke. He signed a long-term contract. He only got through half of it. And he's right now without a team. So
look at Todd Gurley. Out of the league 2 years after his contract, basically.
Exactly. And he was, 2 years out of the 2 years after having an RB1 caliber season in 2018. So, it was sad to watch that. But yeah, it's almost like, I hate to see it that where a first round draft pick is basically beholden to his team 7 years with the if they exercise 2 franchise tags. And by that point, are they past their prime, and our team's not going to pay up for it, like we're seeing with Dalvin Cook right now? This is a guy who got 300 touches last year, over 1,000 yards rushing. I think it's 3 years in a row with 1,000 yards rushing, and he can't find a job. And training camps are opening this week.
Same thing with playoff Lenny. We don't have him anywhere either. And so it's a tough world out there right now. And I don't know and I've seen some floated proposals. I don't know if anything necessarily resonates there. It seems all artificial. And I think teams have just made this kind of gravitated towards this decision that this is the way to optimize it. And when you've got a stringent cap like this, it is what it is. Stringent. It's not that stringent. Taysom Hill just got another extension. So just to fit in some other players. So it can be maneuvered around, but teams have just collectively made this decision. I don't like it. I think, and I do like that other running backs were coming out in support of Barkley, of Jacobs, of Fournette. But at the same time, it is what it is. I don't see it going away either. And the NFL Players Association is the weakest of the major sports. Well, maybe hockey has less leverage, but the NBA and the MLB players, they have more leverage than the NFL players do.
Oh yeah, both of those leagues are just. The NBA, the players run the league. Yep. And MLB, the superstars are very, very, they're taken care of. Gosh, Trey Turner signs for 10 years. He's going to be getting $30 million a year when he's 40 years old. So, and unfortunately, only the quarterbacks and to a certain extent, some of the superstar wide receivers are compensated really well. But the running backs, I'd love to see something. I heard, two things that I heard that just blew my mind. The guards, interior offensive linemen, their average annual salary is higher than running backs.
Well, yeah, and Dawson Knox signed for more than what the franchise tag is for running backs.
Yeah, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, is $14 million a year, which is $4 million more than what the franchise tag is for these guys. It's just, I've also heard that guys could, maybe running backs could declare early for the draft, like after their freshman or their sophomore years. So they could get into their,
make the position even younger. I don't know. Maybe that would help them a little bit get that second contract, but I just feel like they'd be churned out. If the average running back career is 3 years, that means you've got a 22-year-old that's done with his professional career at some cases there, because not all running backs become stars. Not all guys that declare early become stars. And then what do you have? So I don't know. It's no easy answers there. We do have an easy answer for where you can play the best survivor contest. Nice segue there, Jeff. And that is Circa. Get ready for more millions guaranteed. The biggest pro football contests in Vegas are back and bigger than ever with $14 million in guaranteed prizes only at Circa Sports. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. 2 ways to win and no rake. Play Circa Million, make 5 picks against the spread each week with 100% payback to players. The grand finale winner takes home $1 million. Last place takes home a $100,000 booby prize. With quarterly and full season payouts, $6 million is guaranteed. Join Circa Survivor to select one team each week straight up with no repeat selections. If the team loses or ties, the entry is eliminated. Each team can only be picked once in a season. Go 20-0 or be the last person standing to win it all. $8 million guaranteed. Overall, $14 million in guaranteed prizes. Visit circasports.com for details. We'll be back at Circa. Nick Whalen and I broadcast a couple shows from there, and RotoWire just had their annual retreat there too. So we love Circa, basically. I'm here with Jorge Martin from Familia FFB. Check out those videos on YouTube. You alluded to it earlier. The tricky part for you is when do you go and get your second quarterback, especially when you start with the 1.1 on a quarterback?
Yeah, I really want to have a second quarterback by the 4th round because I feel like by that point they're really picked clean.
Yep.
And the board broke. Talking about Scott Fishbowl's draft again, the board broke well for me where I was able to get Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff as my second quarterbacks for my second quarterback and my first wide receiver. To get that stack, I was getting so many pats on the back, and I think there was probably some whisper, damn it, had we let that happen from people. But yeah, by the 4th round, I want that second quarterback because I don't like what it looks like beyond that point, especially drafting at the end, thinking what could happen in the 22 picks until I get to pick again in the
exactly
5th round. Yeah, that just give me that security blanket and I'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw that, like, you're looking at the if you wait till the end of the 6th round, I mean, you're not or beginning of the 6th round, end of the 5th, beginning of 6th, you're looking at like Derek Carr or maybe Jordan Love. It's a lot. There's a definite drop off there. Although some people were pretty excited about Derek Carr a year ago there. So anyways, we'll see about that. But I do like what you did there. And, I think that's really important to know the pool and know your drafters too. You said you did a couple of mocks, so you had an idea of what was going to be available to you there. The Lions, people are going to see them coming a little bit more this year. How do they react?
That's going to be big time. And you know what? The little shameless plug, sat down with Mike Payton of A to Z Sports. He's a credentialed writer for the Lions. And two things that I like, they're still going to be a pass heavy team. And their secondary is still rebuilding. Their defense is still not going to be top notch. So they're going to be in some shootouts. And the other thing is they've also got a lot of indoor games in the back half of the season. They don't have to go to Chicago when it's cold. They don't have to go to Green Bay when it's frigid. So there's and the for the fantasy playoff weeks, the normal weeks 15 to 17, they're indoors every game and with some big shootout possibilities. So love that. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think he's going to eat up targets the first 6 games with Jameson Williams out. So I look at that. I think that we're primed to get a lot of passing game usage. And you mentioned Todd Gurley earlier. Jared Goff was at the helm when Todd Gurley just became not a pass catching threat.
Yep, that's right.
And so you get Jahmyr Gibbs into that lineup. I think he's going to, the expectation is especially the first 6 games of the week of the season, he's going to have plenty of targets early on. And hopefully he's like that dual weapon, almost like a Kamara type.
And to add to your stack, you did add Jameson Williams in the 12th round in this too. So Scott Fishbowl, there's not just your league, but there's an overall contest too. How important is stacking in the Fishbowl?
Oh, I've been a big stacking proponent since the very first league I've played in, but I think in the Fishbowl it's huge because it just becomes such a marked advantage. And if you could pile up points, because there's also that median scoring that comes into play, even if you don't beat your opponent, but you're in the top half of scoring, you get that extra win. So you could go 1-1 in the week. But no, I love to see see that little the little ticker display on my phone coming up when it's, and I'm going to love it a lot when it's, touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown from Jared Goff. And I think I think that's just going to be it adds to the fun factor on top of it.
Jameson Williams is someone we can dream on too. I'm really intrigued to see what he can do after he comes back. I mean, they obviously treated him with kid gloves when he did start playing. He had the one catch. He also had another touchdown rescinded by a penalty too. People forget about that one there. So you could see the upside. Now the question is, what do we expect? What sort of target volume will he get when he starts playing again?
That's going to be the interesting part. I'm hoping it's somewhere in like 6 to 7 range, because I think St. Brown is going to still command about 10 targets a game. So, I mean, I look at him as being a top 5 target leader this season in the entire league. So, but when it comes to Jameson Williams, he's going to be the guy that's going to have to take the top off. It's not just going to be strictly like a Deshaun Jackson type, where it's just like take deep shots with them. There will be some of those, but look, he's a true receiver. He probably would have been either wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 going in the draft the year that he got selected, and he was still, I think, maybe the 3rd receiver who went in that draft had he not been coming off an ACL. But he's going to miss the first 6 games, but it's not going to be because of an injury, and he's able to train normal. He was able to train normally this season. So I think he's going to be clearly the number 2 option. It'll probably be between him and Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think honestly for them to be able to take some of the coverage off of St. Brown, they're going to need to feed Jameson Williams, because if he's one-on-one against the defender, and he's going to make them pay for double teaming St. Brown. And I think at that point that they're going to need that from him, especially in the back half of the season.
Indeed. We have boosted tight end scoring in Scott Fishbowl. You're on Team Chig. You got Okonkwo in the end of the 9th round. If I'm reading this right, currently you're only tight end. You lost out on the tight end 2 run so far, but how are you handling the tight end position generally? And how did you kind of intend to wait in the Scott Fishbowl?
I did. I've kind of taken the strategy. If I don't take Travis Kelce, I'm waiting.
Okay.
Because I mean, I did look, there were a couple points where I did have in my queue to grab either Andrews, Hawkinson, or Pitts early because of the tight end premium. I was kind of boosting that up for myself, specifically for the Scott Fishbowl, but I got sniped. They were all gone before, when I had them queued up. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to wait. I really like Chig, even with DeAndre Hopkins signing there. I think it's going to be a really, really narrow target tree. I think it's going to be, it was originally just going to be Treylon Burks and Chig Okonkwo. I think Chig is going to be an option to be the pass catcher number 2 with the Titans. And even if they're, even if they don't pass more than 500 times, I think he's going to see a fair amount of targets at that point.
I think you're right about that. I like Chig. I think the signing of D-Hop also delays any possible move at quarterback. I think Tannehill sticks at quarterback a little longer because of this. I think they'll give him every last chance to fail. I think that if you're looking at Chig, I think that's a good thing. I think you want Tannehill there and not Levis.
Absolutely. And you know what? What does Mike Vrabel do? He finds ways to win, sometimes winning ugly. And if they find themselves in the race for at the very least a wild card position, but definitely for the AFC South, I think they're gonna stick with him. And because you also look at the fact that beyond Ryan Tannehill being in last year's contract, you got Derrick Henry, so they're gonna just ride him till the wheels fall off. And by the way, weeks 15 and 17 they go against the Houston Texans, so so Derrick Henry is very much a target this year. But yeah, I mean the Titans, they're gonna throw him out as long as Tannehill is healthy and they're target for like 9, 8, 9, 10 wins, they're going to be in the playoff hunt, and they're going to stick with them, and maybe push off the quarterback battle with Will Levis and possibly Malik Willis.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's take a look at some of the rest of your roster build. We kind of skipped over a couple of rounds, so look at your wide receiver room. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown at 312, Keenan Allen at 6'1", Brandon Ayuk at 712. I like that one quite a bit. Chris Godwin at 8'1", really good value. I think I find Godwin and Evans to be really good values all the way around. Jameson Williams, we refer to, and OBJ and Sky Moore at 13-14. A lot of wide receivers on your roster.
Yeah, a lot of stacks, by the way, too.
Yes.
Godwin with Mayfield, and then and Sky Moore, who I that was at the end there. Those last two picks, OBJ and Sky Moore, I was really looking at wanting to get a tight end at that point, but it was just snipe city. I think probably like 7 or 8 tight ends went there, and I didn't want to force it at that point, and I just looked at the upside with OBJ, possibly in a more high-powered offense with the Baltimore Ravens, and Sky Moore. He for me is a candidate to take that year 2 leap. And a couple things that I kept hearing over and over from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce when they were interviewed was just his work ethic and Sky Moore's work ethic. And so that just has me thinking, if this guy's a worker, he's going to find his way into getting some targets. And yeah, after Travis Kelce, it's pretty wide open. Kadarius Toney, there's everybody can dream on him being Tyreek Hill 2.0. He's not, but how can he stay on the field? Sky Moore hasn't had health issues, so could he be that guy? And some people are saying, well, what about Rashee Rice? Well, look at the learning curve that Sky Moore had, and that this is one thing that Josh Briscoe from Sports Illustrated told me, that Andy Reid has such a difficult or such an expansive playbook that it really takes wide receivers almost a full year to get up to speed. And you look at Travis Kelce didn't do much his rookie year. Tyreek Hill didn't do much his rookie year. So that's why I'm looking. Point. Yeah. That's why I'm looking at Sky Moore this year as a possibility. So he might be my late round sleeper. I love all those wide receivers. I know there's going to be the extra points for carries, but after JT, I took that anchor approach and just see, all right, let's just load up on receivers and get all those PPR points.
Yeah. By the way, you're making me feel better about getting sniped on Rashee Rice. I was hoping to maybe grab him in our draft, and alas, it did not happen. Now, granted, we're a couple rounds ahead of you, so that was also part of it there. But yeah, I felt a little snipage on that pick, and I was like, okay, so it goes. We'll take a look at your running backs, but first we got to share another note. First, we're on the Blue Wire Network. We are happy to be on the Blue Wire Network. Here are their ads. All right, thank you for your indulgence with that. Also, we have to share a quick note from one of our sponsors, the good folks at Reality Sports Online. By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go and see what all the buzz is in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, or rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy's front office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is a platform that tests your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general managerial skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use the promo code RotoWire to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. I'm Jeff Erickson. I'm here with my guest, Jorge Martin. You can follow him on Twitter at Jorge Martin17. You can see his work at Familia FFB, and make sure to check out the YouTube videos that he's doing with Familia FFB. Really just search Familia FFB on YouTube, and you'll see all sorts of good stuff, the latest being from the Bucs. All right. Similar to you, I don't have too many running backs. I think I'm actually have maybe one more than you, but Jorge, you only have 3 running backs on your roster right now. You've got Jonathan Taylor at 212, J.K. Dobbins at 512, and then you got Brian Robinson at 10-1. I got to ask, is that part of the strategy, and just maybe add volume later?
Yeah, just add volume later. I did have some fun at the draft where I said, "Hey, you guys, let me have Bijan in the 9th round or something like that."
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a good joke there at the time when a couple of people actually looked at their
Double
board.
take.
But yeah, you know what? I wanted to get there that 0.25 per carry bonus. I wanted to get guys who are going to get a lot of who could get about 200 carries. But yeah, really, what I'm going to do from here on out, I'm going to try and I've got my quarterbacks. So and there's no more quarterbacks to be taken after. I mean, Baker Mayfield. I don't think there's anybody else who's
Is Trey Lance gone?
Trey Lance went before Baker.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was, gosh, I mean, I think we're down to Will Levis and those kind of guys possibly coming up. But, yeah, it's just going to be hammering running back, wide receiver, and tight ends, and trying to get some more tight end depth there late. But yeah, on the running back side, I'm liking some of the guys like a Roschon Johnson, guys that could be in committees early, but could rise up there late at the end. At the risk of my league mates listening to this, because I know at least one or two are going to hear this and be like, "Oh, okay, I got to snipe them for that."
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But yeah, there's Roschon Johnson, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, another guy. He's a guy that Brown and Miller could fall into some extra carries because that Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara are not out of the woods from potentially suspension standpoint. We haven't heard anything definitive there. But another guy, Zach Evans, from the Rams, from here in our backyard, our collective backyard. Evans could fall into some carries there at the end. So just trying to, I think with 22 rounds, I think you could just play around and take some darts at the end. But yeah, right now I'm just grabbing as much depth as I can. I feel really good about where I stand from a wide receiver standpoint. But yeah, I would like to get some more running back and definitely more tight end help. I love Chig, but it's going to be hard to think I'm going to be starting him every week. And yeah, I want him to. It'd be great if he just comes up and he's a game changer. I did, one of the things I almost did was I almost double tapped Chig Okonkwo and Greg Dulcich. But
I can see it.
Yeah, but I thought I played it wrong because the tight end run happened right after that, and Dulcich was one of the first guys scooped up. But oh well. So we'll see. Maybe Isaiah Likely will fall to me. I think there's some there could be some value there.
If your league mates are watching, that may be unlikely. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not sorry. All right. Grand Squirrel Team liked your mention of Roschon Johnson there. They chime in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for commenting on the forum there. Yeah, it's going to be fun trying to find out those late gems. And running backs are the one position where you'll find some pickups during the course of the season. So I like your strategy of loading up on wide receivers early and then adding running backs late, adding your lottery tickets late, because you will find something there on the waiver wire. Wide receivers, it's so grim once you get into the start of the season, and maybe tight ends after injuries or something like that, but it's really challenging. I would say, just generally speaking, Scott Fishbowl, we go 22 rounds deep.
Yeah,
it's tough to find anything on the waiver wire.
I remember last year I spent a boatload of money on Eno Benjamin.
Oh yes.
So, and that was when, and actually it paid off for me because I
for that 1 week.
That 1 week I spent up for him, put him in my lineup, and it worked. And I actually got some applause from the league for doing that. But yeah, that kind of stuff is what gets you far. And I actually ended up being a semifinalist last year. So
nice.
Number 48 overall. So I get to wear that on my shield for this year.
So why didn't you advance? No, just kidding.
You want to know why I didn't? I'm going to tell you why I didn't advance.
I know. Story coming here.
Sob story coming, and it was one move. It was Christmas Eve, so it's the Christmas Eve. There's 3/4 of the NFL was playing under just horrible conditions.
Yeah,
And
right.
I had just I'm at my family's house, my wife's family, and we're just about to turn on the game, and I just see it's white out, and I had Pat Fryermuth and Tyler Higbee as my 2 tight ends, and I had Fryermuth in my starting lineup, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it, even though there was something inside of me was saying, play Higbee at home the next day. Well, Fryermuth had an okay day, but the next day Higbee goes for 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards, and I think he had like 20 more points than Fryermuth, and that was the difference between me making the top 30 or finishing number 48 overall.
Brutal.
Yeah, that
Brutal.
one move that I'm going to regret forever.
Well, that Raiders Steelers game was set football back a little bit there too. That was such a hideous game. It was an easy bet the under game. Let's just put it that way. Derek Carr on the road in the cold at night. Yeah, let's fade that one real quick there if we can. Hey, good run though. Getting to the semis.
Oh yeah.
There's 2,000 teams. You got in the top 50. That's pretty amazing.
I believe me, I was so happy about it. There was only one person out of our whole LA Live draft last year who did make the finals, and she's a fan. Her name is her Twitter handle is Dame Overboard. So
I'm in her league. Darcy.
That's right. Yeah, Darcy Romero.
In fact, we were right next. We were drafting next to each other. She was 5, I was 6. So snipage was had often there on that one there.
Her husband is in my league. His Twitter handle is Mr. Scampers, and his name is Gabriel, and he was in the 2 slot. He has sniped me probably 5 times already, and I've cursed his name. I adore them both because they've been big followers of Familia FFB for over a year now. But yes,
in fact, you interviewed her right at the end of this season in January.
I did.
Right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we had a great time. She was nervous as all get out, but her whole family turned out and they were in the chat and just
nice.
We had a great time. That was fun.
Outstanding. All right. Got one more note from our sponsors, and then I'm going to have Jorge rate my team real quick. And this is from Fantrax. For you fantasy football players out there, is there something you wish your fantasy league had or had features that are missing from your current leagues? Bonus scoring, custom schedules or playoffs, deeper team settings? Well, look no further because we have you covered with our friends at Fantrax. Fantrax is the most customizable fantasy platform in the industry, offering the greatest fantasy experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball leagues. Create or join Fantasy Football Commissioner League. Invite your friends and dominate your draft this season. Fantrax is the top dynasty fantasy football platform in the industry. Are you coming from another service? Not a problem. Fantrax can easily import any of your current leagues and rosters and customize if needed. If you ever have a trade go wrong or make a mistake in dropping a player, Fantrax Commissioner tools allow you to undo any move with one simple click. If there is anything lacking in your current fantasy league manager, Fantrax likely has it. Fantrax is running a special promotion you don't want to miss. Sign up for free at fantrax.com/RotoWire today to enter for your chance to win tickets to any regular season NFL game for you and your entire league. Plus, you'll get $6,000 in spending cash. That's right, tickets for your entire league. Simply create a new league or bring over your existing leagues for more chances to win. Simply go to fantrax.com/RotoWire and sign up today. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports. I'm here with Jorge Martin from Familia FFB. Check out his YouTube videos. See him on Twitter. He'll tweet out everything he does at Jorge Martin 17. I want to point out something before we go to my team. This is Scott Fishbowl has a charity component. Fantasy Cares, big deal. Scott Fish does amazing work. RotoWire is now trying to do our small part here a little bit too, and we want you we want you to get a benefit from it. Check out RotoWire's free trial. Go to rotowire.com/pod right down here if you're watching, and if you go to get that free trial, there's no credit card required. You just get a free look at the site for a couple of days. Hopefully you like and want to subscribe. But just for signing up, for every person that signs up for a free trial, we're going to donate $1 to Fantasy Care. So even if you've already got a subscription, find a way to sign up for a free trial. We want to make it, we want to do some good here. So rotowire.com/pod, we're going to donate to Fantasy Cares. All right. Let's talk a little bit about my team because, hey, I want to hear your take on some of this here. I I started off quarterback. I knew all along I had a really good chance at 6 of getting Burrow. I when I signed up, you basically sign up for your spot. And I took the 6th spot. I like being in the middle of drafts too. And then I had lots of choices in the second round. Obviously, I decided to go second quarterback right away. At Jamar Chase had already been gone. If Jamar Chase had been available, easy decision to stack. But there's if it weren't for those meddling kids, I would have done that. But Dave and Team 10 took him so in the second round. So I went Dak Prescott. What do you think about that pick?
You know what? I like Prescott a lot this year. I'm not buying this whole thing that they're going to be running the ball, because I don't think they have the personnel to be a ground and pound kind of team. But they added Brandon Cooks this year. You've already got CeeDee Lamb, who's going to be top 5, top 6 receiver this year. He's another guy who's going to be commanding 9 to 10 targets a game. He's great. I mentioned Cooks. Michael Gallup, second year coming off of his ACL, so he's healthy, and Tony Pollard is also a weapon out of the backfield. I think Dak is ready to have kind of like a 4,500 yard and 30 to 35 touchdown season. So I like that. I was going to ask you if Jamar Chase was sitting there for you, but yeah. And I would like to grab something, but I do like the idea of tapping quarterback, because you've got an earlier spot in the third round reversal. And so, to get a skill player at that point, I think is much easier to happen.
Yeah. So I got stymied on my top stacks. I didn't get Chase, and CeeDee Lamb went 2 spots ahead of me in the third round, because it is third round reversal. Matt Okada snagged him from me there. It would have worked if it weren't for those meddling kids. However, I got secondary stacks. I got T. Higgins in the 4th. I got Brandon Cooks in the 9th. I even added Irv Smith later on as my second tight end in the 14th. And there's another guy I'm eyeing to maybe kind of add to the medley of players there that I've got there. But I had stacks in mind. Unfortunately, I didn't get any Bucs. I mean, I guess I could go out and get Russell Gage. I know Greg Allman kind of talked him up a little bit on your video there.
Kate Otten too.
Kate Otten could do it. He is available, hovering like an angel. If they're behind a lot, they're going to throw more. So that is something that keep in mind is it might not be efficient, but we might get there in volume.
I do like Higgins for you though, because I mean, Chase is the clear number 1, but Higgins is not a distant number 2. They've got the potential to be, they've got the potential to be kind of like the Eagles were last year, or the Bucs, one of those teams that has two wide receivers in the top 24. People are sleeping on the fact that Higgins was not completely healthy at the start of the season last year. He'd had shoulder surgery. And so, it was kind of inconsistent. I believe he missed a game in there, other than the Buffalo Bills game. But I look at him as a possibility. This is a guy who's going to get 120, 130 targets, get about 80 receptions. And, even limited last year, he got over 1,000 yards. This is a guy who could get you, maybe almost put up like DK Metcalf type of numbers. Dame Overboard, Darcy Orale. And Albert also in the chat too. Alberto, two of our the 2 regulars. So I like Higgins, and I'm really high on Cooks. He has seemed to have been kind of like a calming presence with some of the young receivers there, and in that wide receiver group, kind of like the grown up in the room. Yeah. And so and I think he's still got plenty of speed to burn. So I think he's going to be and really when he's healthy and he's got a good quarterback, he gets 1,000 yards. So to get those 2 guys, I like that. I'm
not going to get a ton of volume out of Cooks, but I've got the pairing obviously, and a good offense in general. I kind of like that he's the number 2. That Lamb is going to draw the top coverage. Lamb's going to be the guy that gets double coverage. I mean, with the Texans, Cooks was the only game in town. I mean, well, that's not true. I do like Nico Collins. Let me backtrack slightly on that, but Cooks was drawing the primary coverage.
Absolutely. And when has he been at his best? When he was with the Rams, he put together a couple seasons there where, he had Robert Woods also at the top of his game and Cooper Kupp at the top of his game. You also, when he was with the Texans, I mean, yeah, I mean, he had one really good season in there where Nico Collins was emerging. It was right after DeAndre Hopkins got traded. So, but yeah, I mean, Cooks, he's really good when there's another dude there. And I mean, there are a few better than CeeDee Lamb. So, and you mentioned it yourself, he's not going to draw the top defender on that side. So, he'll get deep for about 5-6 shots that that will help you out during the season.
Yeah, I think that's true. My structure of the team was a little bit different than yours. I went 4 straight wide receivers after going ahead with the 2 quarterbacks here. I am going to see if I can share the board here with this a little bit there, and so people can see a little bit there. But see exactly. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so you guys can see a little bit there about how the board looks. I'm one with the smashing handsome Bengals logo there under my name, so you can see that there. Some of that pretty blue right after that there with all the receivers. So I went after Burrow and Prescott. I went Waddle, Higgins, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley.
Gosh, I mean, Waddle, DK, really? I mean, that's 3 guys. I mean, DK Metcalf is the clear number 1, but Waddle is, you talk about 1A. I mean, he's just fantastic. I mean, he had over 1,300 yards last year, and I mean, just was that deep threat that he was a deep threat, but he also ate up a lot of yak yards last season. So, I mean, I love him. Let me see where, it's, gosh, I mean, that's a good lineup. Okay. And Ridley, you know what? Ridley, to get him at that point, that could be a wild card. Because I mean, John Shipley of Sports Illustrated and Jaguar Report, I mean, he's one of the leading voices. He told me that in looking at Ridley, I mean, he looks like he's back to being a wide receiver 1, and that is going to be a high-powered offense this year. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to take another step forward. Their defense is still kind of rebuilding. Their secondaries, got some holes in it, so there's going to be some shootouts in there, and they've got some good teams coming up. Interesting. Cam Akers was. Let me see. Which way was it? Which way was the draft going? You grabbed Cam Akers
round, so I was on the comeback. So 7.7.
Yeah,
Cam Akers. I'll tell you a quick little story about that. Cam Akers, I drafted while doing a radio hit. When Jeff Ratcliffe and Lindsey Rhodes were hosting for SiriusXM Fantasy, I did a segment with them, and I brought my phone over and just subtly put in my pick when my turn came up, and we keep talking, and Ratcliffe goes, "You just made a pick, didn't you?" and all that. So it's pretty fun. And then I get back to our little table, and Julia, who was drafting in the 2 spot, it's like, "You sniped me on him from the table." That was pretty good.
How great is that? Talk about multitasking at its finest. That's fantastic.
No, I wasn't trying to text and that's the point. I didn't want to hold up the draft. I wasn't trying to be rude and text while I was talking with them. That's why I had my phone out there. So that was funny. I enjoyed that. Darcy says that DK was a snipe for her. And I remember that. She got me back though, by the way. So she got me pretty good because she got Rachaad White right before me in the 8th round. I love Rachaad White this year.
I'm really high on him. I mean, he's going to be the only game in town. That's going to be a narrowly focused offense. It's going to be Rachaad White. There's not a lot of competition for running back touches. And then it's going to be Mike Evans and Godwin, maybe Otton and Gage, but really it's going to be those main guys. So I like White a lot this year. And I'm not surprised that Dame, aka Darcy, picked him from you. But nice comeback with Cole Kmet there. He's the guy. He's got that connection. He built that connection with Justin Fields.
Yep. That's right. I played the White on the tight end game. So I knew I had to get one at some point. I'm like you though. If I don't get, I'll expand it to Andrews. If I don't get Kelsey or Andrews, then I'll wait. Typically, I don't have a whole lot of Goddard, Kittle, Waller, and Pitts. I'm not against those or Hawkinson, especially in this format. I could see going with the early tight end, but it allowed me to do so many other things by waiting on tight end. I think that was the story here. And I waited on running backs too, as you can see. That's one thing I'm kind of rolling the dice with. You've got a more stable running back room. I tried to tackle a little bit with volume. Akers, Penny, Jamal Williams, at least early on, that should be fruitful. I've got another one of the Chicago running backs and Deonta Foreman. And then I just added Edwards-Helaire, kind of on a whim. We'll see if the Pacheco news is just a nothing burger or not, but in the 16th round, who cares?
And you know what? At that point, you're taking your shot with one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the league. To get a chunk of that in the 16th round with a former first-round draft pick who's playing for his career at this point, it's that's not bad. Rashad Penny, where you got him, great value because you got that great offensive line. You've got that. They're not going to stack the box against him because they've got to respect AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Jalen Hurts. So, I like Penny a lot this year for the value of getting him. I think is much better value than DeAndre Swift. Oh, and there's Mr. Scampers
sitting next to you in the draft here in the chat room, doing his Oppo research. I love it. Well done. Well done.
I already know I know I'm going to get sniped again the next round.
Exactly.
I'm going to have my
Q's to snipe. Yeah, I'd expect no less. In fact.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know what? Getting Zay Jones where you did, I know they added Ridley, but I mean it's Zay Jones at that point in the draft. He's going to have his blow up games, and if you time it right, you time it right and start him. Hey, you know what? He'll probably have 3 or 4 games where he gets 100 yards and a touchdown, and to get him at that point, that's fantastic. And Irv Smith, why not take your shot with another great offense? Who's your quarterback?
Exactly. And I like the early reports. I've always liked Irv Smith as a weight on the tight end sort of guy. He just keeps getting hurt is the problem. But as my second tight end, sure, why not? Hayden Hurst had his moments with the Bengals last year. I was actually low-key annoyed when he left, but then I knew we couldn't keep him, and then we turned around and get Smith on the similar sort of make good sort of deal there. The Bengals, this is we being the Bengals now. And just, hey, that's the game they have to play when they know they got to pay Higgins, they've got to pay Burrow, they've got to pay Chase. We'll see if they pay Higgins. I hope they pay him though. I'd like to see the whole band stick together here. We'll see what happens.
I think they will. I think they will. They may go cheap at running back for the next, for the foreseeable future. And, maybe that means you can't pay up for a second cornerback or a safety or something like that, or a linebacker. And let Lou Anarumo do his magic with the defense with some younger players.
Well, this is the last year Burrow comes cheaply. I think he's $12 million against the cap this year. Next year it goes up to like 20 something. And obviously, if he gets that deal, it's we'll see how they structure it. Obviously, but it's going to be they're going to run the same issue the Chiefs are running into. You have to make hard choices. Tyreek Hill, they traded away. And we'll see what happens. We don't have that Kelsey alternative, so I'm assuming Chase will get the bag for sure, and hopefully Higgins too. Let's keep everybody, but we'll find a way.
Pay them all.
Exactly right. Should be fun filling out the rest of this draft and then playing it out. What's your next draft? What do you have coming up next?
Next draft, I'm trying to think. Oh, well, I've got, I have a couple of charity drafts. For the next one definitely is going to be Paulie's Playoffs, nice. which is for Alzheimer's. And
yes.
I've had a couple of losses and a couple of people I know, people close to me who are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. Yep. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Shane Barrett, for doing that. Gosh, I mean, the home leagues are going to be popping up, coming up. I mean, I got to keep, and I've actually got a dynasty rookie draft coming up pretty soon. They pushed off. I inherited a team that's, what happens when you inherit an orphan. You're never getting Patrick Mahomes.
I've inherited. I'm in only one dynasty, and I inherited a team, and I think I made it worse for a while. And I'm digging out of my own hole here, and it just keeps. A trade I made ultimately cost me Bijan, for instance, there. So, I'm not happy about that. But, live and learn. So we'll see what happens. Got one extra first-round pick last year, which gladly, and now I'm paying you Tuesday for that hamburger today. So, eventually Tuesday comes. I think that's the lesson there. What's your next video?
Next video actually got gonna do a live stream tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Cooter Doodle of Matthew
Nice.
Berry's Fantasy Life. Yeah, I mean, I've never met her. I've only interacted with her on Twitter and via DMs, and I think she's one of the most clever people I know. I'm gonna try very hard not to be like, say something clever.
Yes.
Just say something clever. It's like telling a stand-up comedian, go be funny.
Go. Yeah.
So we're gonna talk a lot. We're gonna talk a little Scott Fishbowl there. I want to hear her experiences. She's actually gonna be going to the Fantasy Football Expo for the first time. So
Awesome.
and we're gonna talk some AFC South. She's a New Orleans fan. We're gonna talk some New Orleans food, which is my favorite eating city in the world. And
Nice.
so I want to find out if you could where are the best tacos in New Orleans. Hopefully something with a little French Cajun Creole action. So do that. And also I've got going to have a video dropping soon. I sat down with Dr. Edwin Porras, talking NFL injuries, kind of his whole kind of seeing the evolution of his injury prone is a lie mission statement. And we're going to talk a lot about players who are coming back from injuries, maybe talk some injury histories that could have us a little bit nervous. That has already been recorded. I'm going to be dropping it.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's Edwin is, I love the way his mind works, because he's so smart when it comes to just the orthopedic side, the anatomy, the physiology. But he also, and with his work with the Minnesota Twins now and all the work that he's done on the football side, he's got so much good stuff. And going to be finishing up, I think I got about 5 or 6 more NFL Insider series.
You got a lot of irons in the fire. I love it.
Yeah, it's this is the time, and our YouTube page has been jumping a little bit, more than doubled in subscriber count since this NFL Insider series came up, and it's been fun. And
so make sure you go to Find Familia FFB on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you get reminded every single time Jorge drops something there. Jorge, it's been a pleasure talking with you. As always, I love that you're here with RotoWire now, among your many places, and can't wait to do more collaborations with you in the future.
Absolutely. Love it. Once again, thank you. Muchas gracias for having me on as an invitado. And I'm going to have to get the second part of the home and home. I got to pull you onto Familia FFB before the season starts.
De nada, and 100% I'm in. You got it. I'm looking forward to it there. That's going to wrap up today's RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. Go hit that free trial. Remember, Fantasy Cares benefits when you care. RotoWire.com/pod will donate $1 to every free trial. For every free trial. So throughout the month of July, please go do that right now. RotoWire.com/pod. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day.